see that those are common degrees? It says 0, 30, 45, 60, 90, 120, 135, 150, 180. Those are all problems that I put on your time quizzes, okay? It would have been nice if you could have used this sheet on your time quizzes, right? But that kind of defeats the purpose. So all of your answers today are going to be one of those answers there. They're going to be one of those. Those are common degrees. Now, is it possible for me to solve an equation and not get a common degree? Absolutely. And that's probably what happens most of the time. Then I got to teach you how to use your calculators to get those answers. Okay? All right. So let's do a quick review. If I asked you to solve this equation, what would you do?
X divided by half.
You would divide by 2. Well, if I do this, and I put a trig function in front of it, like so, 2 cosine of x equals 1, how do you think you're going to solve it? You're going to divide by 2. You're going to get cosine isolated, okay? So there's no difference on how you solve a linear equation and a trig function. I would just divide by 2. Now, this is how they want you to find the answers. Okay, I don't want you to do this. We're going to just go right to our sheet. I want you to think about our time quizzes that we took. If cosine is positive, what 2 quadrants can it fall in? If cosine, remember all students take calculus, where can cosine be positive 1/2? First and third. No. First and fourth, right? All students take calculus, okay? Then what you would have to do is, this is the hard part, you would have to work backwards. Remember our triangles? If I put 1 here and I put √3 here and put 2 here and 60 there, which one of these degree measures would cosine be equal to 1/2? Which, would it be 30 degrees or 60 degrees, where cosine is equal to 1/2? 60, right? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine of 1/2 is 60 degrees. Now you just found this answer. How would you find this one, you think, if you know your reference angle is 60 degrees?
They would do 300, so it would be 360 minus.
360 minus 60, which is? Here are your 2 answers. Now, it is confusing. Go to your sheet now. Look down the line of cosine. Where can cosine be equal to positive 1/2?
60 and 300.
Oh, kind of cheating, right? So you don't have to do all of this, okay? I just want you to be able to solve the trig equation and then just say, okay, cosine's equal to 1/2. When I scroll down the chart, where can cosine be equal to 1/2? 60 degrees and 300 degrees. Make sense? So I'm eliminating all of this. I get it. This takes a long time to do, and if you have 20 problems, you can see that it's really, now I want you to be able to solve the equation and just look it up real quick for me, okay? All right, here's a couple examples. How about this one? The square root of 2, the sine of x equals 1. And notice our equations. They are not very difficult to solve. How would we get sine by itself here?
Divide by sine order.
Divide by,
Square root.
yeah, when we want to get sine isolated, so we'll just divide by √2, so I get sine of x. Now, is that a good, your answers have to be in proper form to look them up though. What is 1 over √2 in proper form?
2.
Yeah, we would just quickly rationalize it, and my answer is √2 over 2. Okay, go to your chart now. Where can sine be positive √2 over 2? Positive √2 over 2.
45 and 315.
Now, let's kind of think about this. It would be 135, right?
135 and that's it.
Thanks. That's it, right?
No, 45.
45 and 135, right? Sine of √2 over 2, 45. Now, let's think about this. Sine's positive √2 over 2. Where can sine be positive at? What 2 quadrants? First and second. Aren't these first and second answers or quadrant answers? Okay, so I can kind of like, yeah, I know that's right. Okay, if you said 315, I go, wait a minute, sign's negative at 315. Okay, good. So there's example 2. How about one like this? And this is where your table is really helpful. Like, I have no problem now showing you or throwing inverse trig functions at you because you're looking up your answers on a table. Okay? Now, you might look at this and say, wait a minute, that looks a little bit complicated. What if I wrote it as 2x plus 1 equals x plus 3? I just took the secants out. Well, what one would you get rid of? How would you solve this?
Subtract x. And then subtract 1.
Okay, so I'm going to just subtract secant over. Let's move the smaller to the larger. So I get secant of x plus 1 equals 3. Then I subtract 1 from both sides. I get secant of x equals 2. Go to your chart. Wherever you see secant is equal to 2, write down your answers.
360.
What is it?
60 and 300.
There we go. Okay, please do this for me. It just makes it so much easier to grade. Always put your low, and if you're reading your chart top to bottom, you're always going to put your smaller angle first, then your bigger. Just work your way up.
Where does the 2 go? I thought the secant.
This,
No, the 2 and the
right here,
yeah.
because when I subtracted secant over, remember there's a 1 there. So what is 2 minus 1? 1. So I just solved it by subtracting it. Okay, good so far? Almost done. Here we go. How about this one? I'm just trying to cover every type of problem you're going to see today. How about this one? Boop-a-doo, boop-a-doo. And look at our equations. All simple to do. We want to solve for tangent. So what do we got to undo first?
Add 3.
Okay. Now this one's a good, we got to make a note of this. Make sure that you understand this. Okay, well we know that every function has an inverse. And the inverse, or the opposite of tangent to squared, the opposite of a square is to square root. Now, be careful of this. Whenever you solve by a square root, your answer is plus minus. Okay, whenever we solve by a square root, our answer could be positive or negative. So you're going to end up with 4 answers here, because here's why. Tangent is positive in quadrants 1 and 3, but tangent is negative in 2 and 4. So you're going to get 4 answers. So if you start at the top of your list, where can tangent be positive, root 3, or negative? Just work your way down.
60.
So 60.
120. 240 and 300.
Is that where tangent can be positive or negative root 3?
Yes.
Okay, and if I just go down the line, 60 degrees. And then I see negative root 3 at 120. Then I see positive root 3 at 240, and I see negative root 3 at 300. So just always put them in order. It's just so much easier to grade. Okay, so just remember the opposite of a square is to square root it, and whenever you solve by square roots, you have 4 answers typically. Good?
Yeah.
Here's our last example. Our last one is a factoring problem. So I thought we better review factoring. I'll give you a second to jot it down. Here's the good news about factoring. The factoring that we do is very simple. And when I say simple, they don't give you big numbers. Okay, they don't give you like 24s and 12s. It's 2s and 1s. So our slide and divide method is just great with these because they're so fast to do and you don't really have to think much about them. Now, I know some of you don't like this, and if you said, well, what if I just wrote it without the cosines? This is all I'm asking you to do. I'm just asking you to factor this trinomial. I just took the cosines out, okay? Let's do it by slide and divide because I think that's our go-to. I think that's where most of you like to do this. Anytime you have a number in front, remember all we do is we multiply these two together to get that. What is a minus minus going to give you again in your parentheses?
Plus minus.
A plus minus. What times what is x squared? Well, that's easy, x and x. Here we go. What times what is 2? When you subtract them, you get negative 1.
2 negative 1. 2 1. 2 minus 1.
Like 2 here?
No.
No,
1
here
minus 2.
and there,
Yeah.
correct? 1 minus 2 is negative 1. That's what I want. Now, if you want, we factored it, right? This is factored. If you want to throw the cosines back in at this point, you can. And maybe some of you are like, well, I don't need to rewrite it. I'll just factor it like this. I'm just showing you that they're the same thing. Okay. Now remember, all we did, we still have to take into account this 2, right? It's slide and divide. So now we just divide both sides by 2. Okay. 1 is not divisible by 2, so slide it over. So 2 cosine of x. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and we are done. We factored it.
1.
Okay? So once you factor it, and we get the factoring that we want, 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 is not divisible by 2, slide it over. What do we do now? How do we solve these?
Both equal to 0.
Yeah. I just quickly put each one equal to 0, and then I solve them. So to factor, you factor it first, and then you just set each one equal to 0. So let's quickly solve this one. So 2 cosine of x equals negative 1, divide by 2. Okay, so I'm going to have to go look up negative 1/2 on our chart, which we'll do in a minute. And then here we just add 1 to both sides. Cosine of x equals 1. So, take a minute now, go down your chart, and tell me anywhere that cosine could be negative 1/2 or positive 1.
0.
Okay?
20.
0 what?
120. 240. 360.
Okay.
Same sheet.
We agree?
Yep.
So, cosine of 1, and again, order is really important. So when I read down my chart, I see cosine of 1 right off the bat is 0. And then I just keep going down to where I see a negative 1/2. And that would be 120. And then 240 and 360. Let's do this. On the bottom of your chart, I don't want you to scribble it out. At 360, maybe you can draw a line through it, but you still want to be able to read those answers. We don't list 360 as an answer. Here's why. Isn't 0 and 360 the same answer?
Yeah.
They're coterminal angles, right? What's 0 plus 360? 360. So when we're solving trig equations, we don't need to list 360 because 0 and 360 are the same thing, okay? So on your chart where it says row 360, just draw one single line through it because we might have to use those for other problems, but just know that we don't list 360, okay? So we don't need to list that answer because it's 0. 0 and 360 are the same thing. There we go, solving trig equations. This is by far the hardest that you have to do, is like a factoring problem. All the other ones are pretty short and sweet, right? Okay? Now, for you to get your 5 points extra credit on your test, this is showing your work. Just, okay, I get it. I know a lot of you can, well, I just divide by 2. Just show me that you divided by 2. There's your answer. Look it up. Here, you don't show me you divided by root 2, you rationalized it, and you got root 2 over 2, final answer. Okay, that's showing your work, all right? I just don't want to see a thing turned in, and this is all I see. Okay? Just show me your work. It's all 1 2-step equations. It won't take you very long, okay? We good? All right. Worksheet. So, all of these problems, unless I did a typo, which I don't think so, this is from my trig class, we would have caught it by now. All of these problems you'll be able to look up on your charts, okay? So when you come in on Monday morning, the very first thing I'm going to ask is have your papers out. I'm going to come by and just see that you tried them all and you showed your work. I mean, then we're going to grade it. So this is just for you trying them. If I come in and I notice you're just copying down somebody's paper, well, you and that person are now no extra credit.
No extra credit?
No. So if you're copying somebody's paper down, so you might want to think twice of giving somebody your paper, because then you're not going to get 5% extra credit either.
Hey,
Probably not a good idea.
why are you looking at me?
I'm looking this way, straight this way. Why are you so paranoid?
It's not paranoid, but you just...
You're paranoid.
I know it is.
Okay, let me show you how easy this is. Let's do number one together. Did everybody get one? Oh, I'll get it for a minute. What would you have to do to get sine by itself here? And this is showing your work. And what is 2/4 reduced to? Now just go look it up on your chart. Sine of x is equal to whatever 1/2 is. And I'm going to guess that it's 30 and 150.
Yes.
How'd you know?
Because I know that the sine of 30 degrees is 1/2, which is 30 degrees, and by using a reference angle, I went 180 minus 30, which is 150. There you go. That's showing your work, okay? And if you kind of look at most of the problems, they're all, other than maybe 7 through 10, it takes you a couple steps. They're pretty straightforward, okay? And you got 35 minutes. If you get it done, I can check it off today and give you extra credit for getting it done, just for getting it done. And then you're still in the running for your 5% extra credit. I'm just in a given mood today, now that I got my cinnamon dolce.
Is it good?
It's a little cold.
A little cool.
Maybe I'll zap it in the microwave for a minute.
Not bad. Paisley bought it.
Can I
Oh.
start the test? Because I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Or is it more important that you get extra credit
I don't
for
know.
this, or would you rather just get that done?